Xi Jinping is going to Russia. Is he going to join the war in Ukraine, or will he try to be the peacemaker? Will China give weapons to Russia? The prospect has been making headlines. We've been telling you about this. The West is issuing warnings. First the Americans, then the Europeans, and then the NATO chief. They've all told China to desist. Beijing has issued quick rebuttals, but no clarity on whether or not they'll give weapons to Russia. The Russian president has high hopes. Putin is looking for a military alliance with China. He spoke to Xi Jinping a few weeks ago. This was a video call. Putin said he wants deeper military ties with China. And now China's top diplomat is in Moscow. Wang Yi met with key Russian officials. The big highlight of the day was this: Wang Yi's meeting with the Russian president himself. No long tables this time. Wang Yi was sitting close to President Putin. He said China's ties with Russia are rock solid.
Of course, we await the President of the People's Republic of China to pay a visit to Russia. We agreed on this earlier.
Chinese-Russian relations are mature and stable as a rock. They have withstood various tests in a changing international situation. The two leaders held a video meeting at the end of last year and outlined a top-level plan for a stronger bilateral relationship in the next stage.
Taking the relationship to the next stage. Well, what is the next stage? Do you remember when Putin met Xi Jinping last year? This was just before Russia invaded Ukraine. They had a meeting exactly 1 year ago. And back then, Russia and China had declared a quote-unquote no-limits partnership. They said their partnership had no limits. And now they're talking about taking it to the next stage. Would that be military support? Honestly, we don't know, but we can tell you that there are expectations. Russia is counting on a steady support from China. What kind of support has it got so far? Financial mostly. China has been supporting Russia's economy. China has bought Russian oil and gas. It has sold chips to Russian companies. It has even shared technology with distinct military applications. But now Russia wants more. It wants Chinese military equipment. Reports say Moscow made the request last year. Beijing did not oblige then, but now they're rethinking. At least that's what the Western assessment is. That China is open to sharing lethal weapons with Russia. The first warning came from the United States, then the EU, and now the NATO chief has spoken. This is what he said.
We are also increasingly concerned that China may be planning to provide lethal support for Russia's war. Putin must not win. That would show that aggression works and force is rewarded. It will be dangerous for our own security and for the whole world. So we must sustain and step up our support for Ukraine. We must give Ukraine what they need to win and prevail as a sovereign, independent nation in Europe.
So the possibility seems real. But is Russia sure about Chinese weapons? Are they any good? Well, Russia could check with Pakistan. Pakistan is a regular buyer of Chinese weapons, or should I say, a regular recipient, since I'm not sure about the payments. So Pakistan gets Chinese weapons. Among them are UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, or drones for military use. Now, the Pakistani fleet is fairly new, but they're already looking for another shipment. More drones. Why? Because some of the Chinese drones were broken. Reports say the Pakistani army recently conducted an inspection, and this is what they found. Critical equipment on the Chinese drones was broken. We've not been able to independently verify this, but we know enough about Chinese products and their quality issues to not be surprised by any of this. And this is a digression, but we had to lay it on the table. If Russia is counting on Chinese weapons, it should know what it's signing up for. Anyway, coming back to the Russia-China partnership, we've told you about Putin's expectations. What about China's expectations? After all, there are no free lunches, even in a partnership with no limits. So what does China want? A boost in its stature, perhaps. Whether they give weapons or strike peace, it will make them a major player in the Ukraine story. Reports say China is exploring all possibilities. One of them is a proposal for multi-party peace talks. The Chinese foreign minister says they're worried that the conflict may spin out of control.
It's been almost a year since the full escalation of the Ukraine crisis. The international community is watching the development closely. China is deeply worried about the escalation of the conflict and the possible spiral out of control. Since the outbreak of the crisis, China has taken an objective and impartial stance based on the merit of the issue.
On Friday, this war will complete 1 year. China seems to be reflecting on the events so far, the Russian offensive, the outcome, the Western response, all of it. Xi Jinping consolidated his domestic power last year. He secured a historic third term in office. He installed more loyalists to top positions. The Chinese president is ready to make new moves, it seems. Whichever way he goes with Russia, one thing is clear: Beijing wants to play a bigger role in this war. His travel dates for Russia are not out yet. Some reports say it could happen in April or early May, around the time when Russia celebrates Victory Day. This is an annual holiday. It commemorates Soviet victory over Nazi Germany in the Second World War. Xi Jinping could attend the festivities or visit before. Whenever he does, the world will be watching.